The broadcast is live.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should start on. Maybe I can go first on uh, welcoming everybody. First of all, everybody who is joining us. As you might have noticed, we didn't live stream yesterday. Usually, we do it on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Pacific. Shoot, I don't even know what time zone I'm in now. Yeah, so that's the reason why we weren't able to live stream yesterday. I was coming back, flying back from a trip to Detroit, coming back from it was a work meetup that we had over there, and my flight got canceled on Wednesday night, so therefore we had to postpone the live stream to today. Um, so I guess the usually the way we do the live streams, we give an update about how our project, the Robby framework, is going. Um, Maybe things that have happened during the week and that sort of things. And then Lee will give us a demo. So in this, I guess on this episode of the live stream, I'm going to start by giving an update on the logo. So we have somebody helping us with the logo design. We got the first set of sketches. We selected the ones that we liked the best, and pretty soon here they're going to, or she's going to give us the black and white versions of it, so we can do, if we need to, a few more iterations on it until we come up with the one that we do like. So hopefully during this week, that's what we're gonna be doing. Hopefully finalizing that. Um, Other than that, traffic has picked up on the website. We've gotten more traffic than compared to, let's say, 2 weeks ago or even a month ago. So that's a good thing. Um, any updates, Lee, that you wanna share?
Well, yeah, we got our second beta registration. And
That's
this
good.
guy actually registered the software. Somebody has installed the software and registered it.
That's
Woohoo.
good. That's
I'm
great.
going to, yeah, I've been in email contact with him, and I'm going to get on a Zoom call with him next week and see if I can get him going on some kind of project.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, possibly our first real user, honest to God, going to use the software user.
That's awesome. That's great news.
It's something.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in general, I think we've seen. I think we've seen a lot of progress. I think one thing that we were working on for a while was for us to get to where we could release the software and we could give users a way to download it, and at the same time sort of keep not necessarily track of, at least be notified that someone downloaded the software so we can offer help and support. So I think last year, probably the second half of last year, we spent it doing that. So I think, that there's a lot of motivation that I get from seeing that, someone who's actually used, other than us, who's actually doing something or will be doing something
Yes.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other big thing that happened this week is I got our 4-year financial projection done.
Okay.
So for Silicon Valley Advantage, our accelerator company, that's one of they wanted that, and I think I sent you a copy of that.
Yep. I did
Yeah,
see
so
that.
I got that done. That's something. So we're all going to be rich in 4 years.
According to the projections, right?
That's right. I am projecting.
Yeah.
I'd settle for making a living off it, but
We have our friend Michael in the chat.
hey, Michael bounces in from Mars. All right.
Thanks for joining, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, another interesting thing going on. I don't know if you saw the email, but looks like I think on the 22nd I get to go tour Lawrence Berkeley Lab.
Oh, really? That's
Gloria from the accelerator company set that up. So
that's
that should
awesome.
be interesting. Yeah, yeah, it should be an interesting thing. I've always been curious about that, both of them. Are you familiar with what those things are about?
Uh,
Lawrence
the
Livermore and Lawrence Berkeley?
Lawrence Livermore, yes. The other one is a similar to.
I'm not sure exactly. I think Lawrence Berkeley basically was the first one, and then Lawrence Livermore kind of grew out of it, but I'm not exactly sure. Somebody can correct me. But I know they're we're always famous for being about nuclear stuff, but I think it's kind of expanded beyond that now.
Okay.
But they're real advanced laboratories. It'd be fun to go see what's going on there.
There was I don't know if you remember this, but when we were our old job, there was a third Cody. I guess he was the
Yes.
first Cody. Remember that he went to Lawrence
Oh
Livermore?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was a real sharp guy, and yeah, really sharp with data stuff.
yeah,
And he ended up at Lawrence Livermore. Yeah.
yeah. So you might bump into him over there. Who knows?
It's kind of interesting to even go in and look at it. I had to tell him you have to be a U.S. citizen, and I had to tell him where I was born. That I was born in this country, I guess. Presumably, I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay.
I guess because of the nuclear stuff, but I don't know.
Okay. That's pretty cool, Lee.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. Okay, so I have a question, but I'd rather hold it until you do your demo. So I don't know
Okay.
if you want to move on to doing the
Yeah,
demo
yeah,
for
I can
today.
do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and share, which makes the screen go crazy briefly. Let me know when you can see my screen.
I see it. Let me add it. There we go. I see your teams
Okay.
now.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's get rid of that. All right. So I'm going to bring up the Robby Framework UI, and we're going to talk about message schemas, I think.
Okay.
So message schemas throughout anytime you build a network that's going to go be loaded on a robot, all the data that you transmit through the network is transmitted in JSON, and the JSON is controlled by message schemas. So anytime I build a channel has two message schemas, one for messages that are coming from the master control program and going out to the devices attached to the robot, and a schema for messages coming back from the devices and into the master control program. So to build message schemas, you use this little UI right here. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to just build a play one here. I'll call it play schema. And you can give it some kind of a description. That's a really vivid description there. And now I'm going to come down here, and these are the types of properties. So a schema is made up of properties. These are the types you can have. If I do a string, so we'll just say I've got string prop. If I could spell, that would be good, but I guess it's not absolutely necessary. So for a string, I can just give it a maximum length, and I can say whether it's required or not. And when I get it set, then I hit this button and it adds the property. So I'll do a floating point. That. So for floating point and for all numbers, I get a minimum value and a maximum value that I want it to have. And since it's floating point, I can declare a number of decimal places. So with all of this, what's going to happen now is when we start sending messages, anytime the message touches the network in the robot, it gets validated against the schema. And if it fails, it throws an exception. So it makes it so you can never pass anything through that isn't checked and doesn't match a schema. So that's that. Now I want to go through just a couple of extra things that happen with schemas and with everything. So I think I've talked about this before, but I'm just going to go over it again briefly here. Anytime we build anything with this UI in the Robby framework, what we're really doing is creating JSON in the background. And that JSON is what gets used by the framework for the configuration for a network. Oops, I got to save it first. So that JSON actually is encrypted and you can't change it and you can't adjust it, at least in terms of how the network is going to use it, but you can see it. So here's the JSON that we're creating for the schema we've been playing with so far. And I can download this, I can push this button, and I can get it as a file. So once I do that, it opens up a lot of possibilities for things I could do with that JSON within the master control program if I want to. I can actually turn it into C# objects and play with it and do whatever I want. With schemas, that's not as important because of what I'm going to show you in just a second, but it's kind of a nice feature. Particularly, one of the nice things it does is it just gives you a really concrete picture of what it is you're creating when you create these objects inside of the UI. This is physically what's going on in the background as you're creating this JSON. Now, the other thing I want to talk about real briefly is these two buttons right here, the C++ button and the C# button. Let me see here how lucky I am. Last week, I think, we looked at this little demo program here, and we talked briefly about the C# button then. So I'm going to get rid of these two classes from this project, just so I can put them back. So this C# button, we'll look at it first. So I've got this project out here, and within the configuration for the Robby framework, I can tell it, okay, use this path for a project path right now for my C# project. In fact, maybe I'll just show that. So out here in the settings, we have kind of universal settings for the app. I have project path and project namespace. So those get used by the C# button. Let's see here. Let's get a little different one. Power control command message. Those get used by this C# button. So when I push it, what's going to happen is it's going to go actually create two C# source files, little class files that are model classes that match this schema that I have loaded right now. And you can see out here in the code for the project, I have power feedback message and power control command message. I think we're looking at power control command message right now. And you can see it doesn't exist in the project. So I'm going to come out here and press the C# button. And now over here, you can see it's popped up into the Solution Explorer for the project. And now I have that little model class that matches that schema. So it's kind of nice. It makes it so without writing any code or doing anything but hitting that button, that model class is there and ready to go for me, and I don't have to do anything else. It just exists now within my project. So that's kind of a handy thing. It's a nice little shortcut thing, I think.
Yes, it is.
Now the other one is kind of interesting too, and it's the C++ button. And what it does, a lot of what we do, what you're going to do in any robotics project these days, or most of them, especially if it's a hobby level, or most ones that the public is playing with and that most anybody's playing with, you're using the Arduino IDE now. I don't know that it's the most popular IDE for dealing with microcontrollers, but I'd be really surprised if it's not. I read the other day it's up to 36 million downloads of it or something like that. So a lot of people using the Arduino IDE. And when I push that button, the C++ button, what happens then is it actually creates C++ header .h and .cpp files in the library file that we set up for Arduinos. So back in the settings, in addition to the project path and project namespace, I can also tell it a path for an Arduino library. So you can have an Arduino library set up that anytime I create one of these schemas, I can automatically put .h and .cpp files into that library to get used within the Arduino IDE. And in addition to just being C++ or CPP and .h files, the header files that establish the model class in the background, it also ties into the Arduino JSON library. And it does serialization and deserialization of JSON for me. So here's an example. So let me back up a second here. So here you can see power control command message. That's the one we were looking at. And I've included the .h file for it in the Arduino program. And here I declare one of these. And now down here, so I have a command message coming into the Arduino program. And here's the reference I set up to power command message. And as soon as the string comes in off the serial line to the Arduino card, I can hit this, I get this receive JSON message method built into that model class that deserializes that string into the power command message model. So once again, no code really, that's all the code it takes to get that JSON in from the Arduino, from the serial line on the Arduino card, and turn it into JSON, or turn it into this model class that I can then use within my C# program. So, once again, it's not like it's rocket science or that earth shaking, but it makes it real convenient. It really takes away quite a bit of coding, especially, it's not that easy to deal with JSON in Arduino C++, unless you're using the Arduino JSON library. So that's kind of fun stuff. And that's mostly what I had to say about message schemas. So if there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them, or we can go to the question you already had there too.
Yeah. Well, our friend Michael has a comment.
Okay, good.
Not related to your demo, but
Francisco doesn't know who Alan Turing was? Oh my God. Ha.
You too, Lee. Gee.
Alan Turing, aside from being the guy that broke the Enigma machine in World War II, pretty much is the first guy. He had the idea that you could define anything with binary. Other people may have thought of it, but really it was Alan Turing who came up with a whole idea of using on-off switches to define things. And he came up with a whole notion that pretty much anything that could be defined in binary. So that's kind of a big deal. He kind of made it all up, that made everything happen.
Yeah. Okay, now my shame on
So
myself.
I'm not exactly mad at you, but
disappointed.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Not really,
Maybe at some
but
point
I
I
can
did
lord it
know.
over you a little bit.
Maybe I did know at some point, D, and
Yeah.
I probably I don't know, but it
Yeah,
is.
there's a pretty good movie about it. The Imitation Game with Cumberbatch. I can't think of his first name,
Wait, I
but
did watch it. I did watch that movie.
yeah,
What the
that's about the
heck?
Enigma part of it. It doesn't
Yeah.
really go that much into his whole. He wrote a paper before he got while he was in college uh, about thinking machines and how you would build a thinking machine. And the thing he built for doing the for breaking Enigma was essentially one of the first digital computers. A lot of people argue that it was the first digital computer.
Mm.
But he, prior to doing all of that, he wrote this paper in college about using binary to define things. Which what makes that so powerful is it's the idea that on-off switches, which that's all computers are, is a whole bunch of really fast on-off switches. EDVAC, there you go. Yeah, I think that's the
And
name of the computer he created.
we have our an old friend as well. Remember Bismarck?
Oh, Bismarck. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
it's
we're back, Bismarck, after a break.
yeah. Hopefully
Here's
we're
a
back forever.
yes. Here's another question.
Don't use Python. Just kidding. There's nothing wrong with Python. But use Robby. We'll give you a Robby for free and I'll help you do it. Yeah, if you're seriously gonna, start playing with robotics equipment and trying to get things happening with it, if you're really tied into Python, yeah, I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but I will tell you what you should do. What you should do is get on our website and get the Robby framework and register it, and I'll help you use it.
Yep.
That what you're wanting to do is exactly what it does. So that's my advice. Sorry, it may be a little bit biased. Nah, it's not biased.
I'm
That's
dropping
cool
it.
though. You're dropping the link to him.
Yep. Okay, so
You
you
can be
guys,
our second registered customer.
are you guys putting me in the hot seat today or what? What's going on here?
Oh, now this one, I don't know this one. Fagan? That sounds familiar. Who's Fagan? You're going to have to tell us on that one, Michael.
Yeah.
I thought of using Python because the equipment I found used only Python. I don't program but in JavaScript. Well, C Sharp's a lot like JavaScript. If Bismarck, if you want, we can get you my email address, or you can get in through the website, and we can have a conversation about the equipment you're looking at, and we can probably make it work just fine with Robby. Or I can tell you equipment you can get that will. I don't know what you're looking at, but yeah, most things. If you're looking at microcontrollers like Arduinos or Raspberry Pis, um, you can do C. And then really, Robby isn't about running the microcontroller directly. It's about sending commands to the microcontroller and receiving information back from the microcontroller and using it within the robot. So, would love to exchange emails with you and talk about it.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I bet you can get Arduinos anywhere, but I need to understand what it is you're trying to do. So, would love to talk about it. Fagan invented the microprocessor in '71. Ah, okay. Ah, wow. It wasn't until '71 that the microprocessor got invented. I guess they were doing it with boards before that. Was that what for NASA or who was that for? It wasn't Microsoft? It wasn't Xerox, was it? That's the cool thing about Michael. He knows all that crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I only know a little. I only know
I
some of it.
think I might actually like start being convinced that he is from Mars and he's an alien.
If not, I can believe it anyway because it's a good story. All right, I'm googling now. Federico Fagan, Italian physicist, engineer, and inventor. First commercial, the Intel 4004. Okay. First commercial, first commercial microprocessor. I see. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's a new one on me.
Yeah.
Shows my computer trivia only goes so far. Hey, but I got Turing. But Bismarck, yeah, get in touch with us. Love to talk to you about that. I can help you make a robot do cool things with Ted Hoff. Let's see. Maybe I have. What's the name of the guys that wrote the book? Um, uh, I'm going to cheat in Google because I can't remember their names. Okay, yeah, Kernigan and Ritchie. That's what I'm trying to remember. I'll bet Michael. Do you know who Kernigan and Ritchie was, Francisco?
No. Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace sounds
I know who
familiar
Ada
though.
Lovelace is. I know who Lady Ada. She's the Ada fruit. I'm pretty sure that's who that is. They've got a great website for really nerdy robotic stuff. They're really into the electronics engineering side of it. So building circuits and stuff, which I'm actually starting to play with that lately just because it's cool and it's fun. I don't really need it for the stuff we're doing with our robots, but it's cool and fun. But Kernigan and Ritchie, that's a good one. I'll bet Michael knows who they are.
What about I mean, I'm changing the subject completely here, but
Well,
have
all right.
you, because I don't want to keep not knowing.
Oh, come on. We're having fun abusing you.
So, have you guys heard of Wally, the movie?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
love that
Well,
movie.
but have you heard now about Dolly? Like they spell it the same way, but it's like a huge project, AI project. You'd be amazed of what it does, Lee, if you haven't heard of it.
No, no, I haven't heard about it.
So pretty much you can tell it. Uh, I I want a picture of, let's say, an astronaut having a burger sitting in Mars,
Oh,
and then it
yeah.
will
I
come up
did
with
hear
the
about that.
picture. It's Yeah, it's crazy that stuff that thing can do.
Yeah, yeah, I did hear about that, and it sounds really bizarre. Any word combination you want, it will try to turn it into a picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's insane. And the pictures are accurate.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard it's kind of spooky what it does. And
Hmm.
there's people like the guy heard an interview with I don't know, he was an art professor or something, and he was kind of concerned about it because it could be this thing that would just cheapen art because any idea you could think of it would create it for you, and yet at the same time it kind of opens things up. No pictures allowed on Mars. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But it's like this. It makes for this whole new field of creativity. That's correct. They invented C. Not only did they invent C, they invented Unix. It's kind of interesting. As I heard the story, Bell Labs, affectionately known as KNR, they wrote one of the best programming books ever. Just a little tiny, like 100-page book called C Programming Language. And the way I heard the story is Bell Labs wanted a new operating system. So they set out to build an operating system that turned out to be Unix System 5. And to do the Unix, they decided they needed a new language. So they came up with the C language. So they did Unix and C. So it's pretty momentous. And that book, it's still my favorite programming book I ever read. It is so concise. You read the thing, and when you're done, you know how to program C, and you can read it in an evening. It's a very cool book,
Wow.
just called the C Programming Language.
Yeah, I do remember that Michael likes Unix.
Yeah, he's a Unix hack,
Yeah.
and I'm a Windows. I don't know what you got. We're not hacks. We don't rise to the level of hacks. Where I'm a lowly Windows guy. I like pictures. Yeah, but Kernigan and Ritchie, man, they're heroes for sure. Well, anything else going on?
There is another question on Instagram. They're asking anything new in .NET technologies. I think that something I heard. Well, obviously .NET 7 is on preview. Um, one of the features I've heard is that they revamped reflection on it. Um, I
I
know
don't
that
know
in
what
.NET
that
6,
means.
yeah, in .NET 6 or .NET Core, well, I guess it's just .NET 6. They get rid of the startup CS file on projects, um, which I don't think it's a big deal, but a lot of people made a big deal about it. It's just that instead of doing all the dependency injection in the startup CS file, you do it somewhere else. But essentially the same thing. I mean, it's just that they're kind of going away from that convention there.
It's classic Microsoft.
Yeah.
Well, we need something to be different, so we're going to make this different.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, you're going to have to relearn things and it's going to break your old code, but too bad.
It's a stick to Visual Studio.
I'll stick to NeoVim. .NET is a web extension. Well, it kind of started off that way. Actually, that's interesting. I don't know if what you're referring to with that is web classes. But .NET kind of came from a thing in VB6 I always felt like, which was called web classes in VB6. Yeah, Microsoft, 2 steps forward, one giant step backwards. But Microsoft's much more fun to badmouth than almost any other company. So,
Yeah.
but one of the things I didn't like in .NET 6, I still haven't gotten used to it, is they pretty much made reference classes. I don't understand them now, or not, or value classes. I mean, I'm sorry. You had value and reference objects, and value objects you couldn't make them null, and then suddenly you could make them null, and now I don't know if there's any difference between them, and yeah, I don't understand why they do those things. I guess they wanted it to be more conventional or something, but Anytime you're going to break my code, I hope you have like a really good reason for it.
Exactly.
And sometimes it doesn't seem like they do. Windows Vista and ME with a Chrome OS. God, Windows ME. I only tried to look at it once. It was garbage. Object C, isn't Object C Apple's thing for? Or no, that's
Objective C.
Objective C. That's
Yeah.
Objective C. Yeah.
But now they're trying to move everyone to Swift, which
What's Swift?
it's a new language,
I'm
relatively
showing
new.
my
It's been
ignorance, since
it's
I
maybe
retired in August. Oh,
five.
go ahead.
I think it's been around for 5-6 years.
Oh,
They mobile developers like it, or iOS developers, I should say.
so
Yeah,
that's
so
Apple's thing.
it's Apple's thing. Yeah,
Oh, they replaced Objective C. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I interrupted you so much. I didn't missed what you're saying.
yeah. It's a new language they use for all of their OSs, Mac, iOS, and now they split the iOS, and now they have iPad OS, which is slightly different. And then they have
Okay.
Apple TV OS, and Watch OS, but you can use Swift for all of those.
Is it a C variant or?
It looks more. It's kind of like if Python and JavaScript had a baby. I think that's what it would look like.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I like Python quite a lot.
Yeah.
Bismarck, to answer your question, Robby Framework supports C#. It's drank the Microsoft Kool-Aid, but it's really straightforward, simple C#. C# events. Swift is IPA DOS. iPad DOS is actually better than iOS. Oh, interesting. Boy, I've never programmed an Apple. Well, early on, I programmed Excel and Macintosh, but that doesn't really count much. But yeah, I've never really programmed an Apple computer. I guess that's kind of showing my ignorance. Python's a cool language. I like Python. There's something about it that just makes sense to me. It's so simple. It's one of those languages where if you think something ought to work, it probably will, which I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should start wrapping it up, Lee.
Yeah, ready for dinner?
Yeah, so Bismarck, go to the website. I dropped the link. Let us know if you want to register, or you can contact me on Instagram, or I guess anywhere you can get a hold of me, and we'll connect you with Lee, and maybe we can get on a call and see what you're trying to build, and see how we can help.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you about it and can give you help with it one way or another. I promise I won't only help you if you use Robby Framework. But it's a big plus.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week, what I'll do is that I'll schedule it now ahead of time. Lee, I'll schedule it for Thursday at 5.
Yep.
And I'm not going on any trips this time, so I'll be able to set
Yeah, I
it
don't
up
want the
in
call
time.
from LAX next week.
Yeah. So for those of you who missed it at the beginning of the meeting, I was talking about the reason why we missed the live stream yesterday, and it was because I was trying to get back home. I went to Detroit. My flight got canceled on Wednesday. I had a flight coming back on Wednesday from Detroit to SFO, and I ended up having to spend another night in Detroit and fly back Thursday morning. And I didn't get home until 6, which is past the time that we already, that we usually stream. So I just didn't want to rush it. So we just said, let's postpone it. Let's do it Friday. So next week, we're going to do it on Thursday at 5.
Or
5,
12 o'clock
5:15
Mars time.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
5-ish.
5-ish, give or take 15 minutes. Probably give 15 minutes.
And 12 o'clock Mars time. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well,
Well,
thank you
good to
for
talk to
joining
you,
again.
Michael and Bismarck.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining and interacting. Hopefully, we'll see you again next week. I'd be looking forward to that.
All right.
All right, Lee.
Bye, everyone. See ya.
Have a good night. See ya.
You too.